Welcome to the Infinite Life with Katish Haberfield. I'm a quantum soul therapist, and I'd like to take you on a transformative journey exploring the mysteries of the soul, past lives, and infinite existence. Through over 60 regression case studies, mediumship interviews, and fascinating discussions with interesting human beings, uncover what it means to be a human facing duality on Earth whilst embracing the true nature of reality, non-duality, and unconditional love.
He mentioned how Mandala, the circle is the most pleasing shape to the eye. It's what we first see as a child when we see our mother's eye, we see her bosom when we're breastfed. It's the most natural and most soothing shape to the eye. But it's also a completion for the psyche when you can come back basically full circle and just following a pattern with your eyes and your heart to full circle. It is a very healing, beautiful shape to witness, and the design is one of the most soothing and healing shapes that can come into our life. So with all of that, it does help people to heal the psyche and come full circle, but also without words and without involved with the intellect. It's much more at a deeper embodied visceral sense of self through number, maths, and through color. So there's a whole other layer of representation of yourself that you can see without putting words or involving the intellect. It's something much deeper than that.
Welcome back to the Infinite Life podcast with Katish Haberfield. This week we have a beautiful guest for you, and her name is Chantal Roelofs. Chantal Roelofs is the founder of Your Sacred Mandala and creator of unique, one-of-a-kind, intuitively guided mandalas. Chantal is passionate about supporting people to live their best life, and creating mandalas is one avenue that she does. She's also a coach, consultant, and hosts beautiful retreats. Tuning into a person's energy and turning that inspiration into art lights Chantal's soul on fire. To work with an individual on their personal and aspirational numerology, favourite colours, heart's desires, intentions, and potential challenges they want to get through, and how all get woven into each mandala piece through its intuitively unfolding design is an exquisite process for her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Katish. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Chantal and I both live in Brisbane in Australia, for those of you who live and listen from America. One of the things that has always struck me about you, Chantal, is that you seem to do things quietly in the background, and then the next thing I know, you have this skill or ability, and it's like at this level that I'm like, holy smokes, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there that I didn't realize in the background. And one of that is your art. And you started off, I know, just doing watercolors and watercolor paintings, and now it's transformed into this amazing spiritual and numerology significant mandalas. So I thought we would just dive in there and say, how did you go from doing watercolor painting to mandalas? Talk us through that journey and what it's been like for you.
Yeah, thank you, Katish. Yeah, frankly, and to be honest, it's still a massive surprise to me as well. And I think for the listeners of your podcast who understand spirituality in all sorts of ways, I feel like this has been something that has just channeled through me in the last 18 months, and it was a really big surprise. And as you mentioned, yes, watercolors came into my life through the COVID years, and I thought, oh, we're all in lockdown with my two daughters. Let's just buy some online watercolor courses. I'll get some art supplies, and we're just going to spend some nice time together while we're in lockdown, learning the art of watercolor, which is something that I'd never done before. And I just loved the courses that I was doing. The girls loved them to this much, and then I loved them this much. And I would repeat the courses I was doing. And most of the courses I was doing were all in botanicals. So lots and lots of leaves, different structures of leaves. And also for the listeners, my previous career as a scientist, I'm a marine scientist, particularly in seagrasses. So I've got a keen eye for biology and for particularly for the detailed and almost taxonomic way of plants. It's just the way my eye just starts to dive into that kind of detail. So here I am making lots and lots of watercolors.
Oh, here you go.
So,
oh, lovely.
there are a couple of bookmarks just with, I'll turn that the right way around, just lots of different leaf structures. Everything's looking a bit like a seagrass at the moment, but yeah, they all have that kind of flow about them. And I just loved the concept of painting from a puddle and just allowing the color to flow and just be in my, it's a very meditative state that you get into when you're just repetitively and consistently painting. So fast forward about another couple of years, and in an online all women's heart-based entrepreneur Facebook group, I saw this amazing woman in Adelaide doing very fine art in mandalas, so very fine ink work. And I thought I bought her mandala course, but I was wrong. I'd bought another mandala course in acrylics, and I thought, oh, it's just $50 I've just spent, and I don't even know what acrylics are. I've never touched them. I'll park that. Another time will come when I pick it up. So fast forward another 6 months, I went on a course. It was like a mastermind, 7-day, very practical spirituality, journeying with yoga, meditation, mantra, silence for half a day, and just really being on a very inward reflective journey through a lot of journaling. But one thing that we were given on that first day was a huge canvas, and actually you can see it right there, this huge canvas that we got to paint a layer every day. And so with the layer we might paint symbology or mantra. So the mantra on this one is the Om Shri Mahalakshmiye Namaha. So bringing in the attributes and the energy of Lakshmi around joy and nature and abundance. So that's what I was doing each day. A new layer of acrylics would go onto this painting. So I'd be painting over things I'd painted the day before, and it was just layering up. And by the end of the 7 days, this is where I got to. And so then I was very comfortable with acrylics. So I thought, oh, I'll pick up that mandala course I bought. And I did it. But lo and behold, with all the muscle memory of all that watercolor work in my wrist, in my hand, and just the consistency of brush strokes that I was so used to, the mandala course came so easily and really fast paced. I just would get through all of it in a very fast way. And I painted my own mandala according to my own numerology. My life path number is the number 6, all about love and harmony and connection. And so I painted that in my aquas and greens and olive greens and forest greens. And it looked really amazing. It was a really beautiful piece. So I showed a friend the night I'd finished, and I showed her at a dinner we went to. And she said, oh my gosh, Chantal, that just speaks to me. Can you work out my numerology? And I'm commissioning you right now. You have to paint mine now. And
Excellent.
I was like, okay, all right. Okay, Vera, I'll paint yours. And she said, oh, and I just made up a price on the spot. And then I painted it, and I just took Vera's and mine to Facebook, within the next few days. And then I had 8 orders suddenly. And so I knew that from one Facebook Live. And so from there, I just couldn't stop painting. And I just get so much joy working out people's colors according to what they love, or they naturally just are very attracted to different colors, or just makes them really happy. Or if they're trying to balance different chakras, the energy centers in their body, then also bringing those chakra colors into their mandala. And then the different layers in the mandala will speak to each other. So I find the different spacing between layers give people a breathing space. So another thing with mandalas, which are basically, it's for anyone who doesn't even know what a mandala is. I'll show you one now. So I've got a couple here. So this is one that I've painted just on returning from India, actually. But within the mandala, we've got the center, and then there's the different layers, and this one's all got the same numerology. And so with the numerology, I just work out how many fractals of that numerology come from the center. So that might happen just in one numerology like that, or let's see if I've got another one here. Or it might be something like this. So this numerology is the numerology of 6 as well. It's a seed of life. And then there's a 6 in the center, but then there's another level of numerology around the outside. So I just work out, the feeling that the mandala, the owner or the commission person would like to have within the mandala, what their personal numerology is, what their aspirational numerology might be. And it just, I get so much inspiration and just little intuitive nudges of this is next, this is how it's going to unfold. So I just keep following that until I get to the end, and no piece ever feels finished until the last dot goes in. So I've got this creative tension that goes on, Katish, that I get to about here and I go, I've got no idea where this mandala is going, and I have no idea how I'm going to finish this off. It's a disaster. And so I go for that very creative tension, going, oh, everyone's going to find out I'm an imposter with this. This is terrible. It's all going to go bad. But then something comes through and it finishes itself off. And so
yeah, because
each
it's
one,
meticulously planned. And so for those of you who are listening on the podcast, you can either switch over to Spotify now to watch the rest of the episode on Spotify if you have a desktop, or you can go over to YouTube afterwards and you'll be able to see the mandalas that Chantal has done. It's the one, two that she's just been holding up are blue, white, gold, and black. Yeah, I just assumed you had a pre-planned drawing before you touched it, because
no.
it's so precise.
It's very precise. Yes. So that's a little card I've made of that one, so I can hold it up a little bit easier. But no, I really, the first dot will go in the center, and then I'll have a numerology worked out for the center, and then that will be completed by a layer, maybe a ring of dots. And then it's another numerology that brings in another aspirational quality to the person or for the piece. And I
Sorry,
just
can I stop
keep
you there?
going.
What do you mean by aspirational numerology? Because obviously the life number numerology is based on their name, right? And you use, that's how you get your life
birth
path.
date. Yep.
Birth
So on their
date.
birth date. Yep. So on the birth date, and then their name is what they were given at birth is a whole other numerology.
Yep.
But then the aspirational numerology, say if I'm a 6, but I'm thinking, oh gosh, I really don't have a great sense of purpose, and I need cash flow in my life, and I don't know how that's going to happen. So the numerology of 8, which is where what are your innate, incredible gifts, abilities, and skills you were given on this planet today? How do all those gifts match the material world, and how can you make that a reality so that an abundance flows into your life? So that's the infinity symbol. It's the numerology of 8. So if that's where someone is, but their life path's a 6, I'll also bring in the numerology of 8. Or if they're craving more freedom and adventure, then I'll bring in the numerology of 5. Or if they're wanting to dive further into their spiritual awakening and they have so many questions and they're always asking why and always researching and always wanting input and on that pathway, then it's a 7. Or if they're like, I have got so much gratitude, I've got so much in me and just my cup runneth over, and I have such universal love that I just want to spread to the world, then it will be a 9. So according to all of those, so it might even be 3 different numbers.
Okay.
Mandala had a center of 6, and then it went to numerology of 7, which was in 16 fractals. And then on the outer rim, it was 30 fractals, which is the numerology of a 3, which is like a childlike curiosity and creativity and fun and all of that. So yeah, the numbers can be, what is your current life path, but also aspirationally, what are you wanting to bring in life? So these mandalas become like an energetic portal that people have on a wall, just reflecting back who they are, who they want to be, and just a reminder of their highest self each day on the wall. And there's so much energy that pours through these mandalas, Katish. You just feel them, and you feel happy, and you feel charged by viewing them. And I know I'm just going to be rattling on. Sorry, Katish.
No, you're right.
I've got so much passion about this and the research on mandalas. But Carl Jung, he mentioned how mandala, the circle is the most pleasing shape to the eye. It's what we first see as a child when we see our mother's eye, we see her bosom when we're breastfed. It's the most natural and most soothing shape to the eye, but it's also a completion for the psyche when you can come back basically full circle and just following a pattern with your eyes and your heart to full circle. It is a very healing, beautiful shape to witness, and the design is one of the most soothing and healing shapes that can come into our life. So with all of that, it does help people to heal the psyche and come full circle, but also without words and without involving the intellect. It's much more at a deeper embodied visceral sense of self through number, maths, and through color. So there's a whole other layer of representation of yourself that you can see without putting words or involving the intellect. It's something much deeper than that.
Interesting. I find that particularly interesting because, sorry, just to insert a small insight. When you said that the circle is the most nourishing and comforting, my mind went immediately to, obviously there's a reason I did a line of work that I do. And circles have always been horrendous for me because if I walk into a circular room, I get dizzy and feel seasick.
Wow.
Yeah. When I lived in the Hunter Valley, I used to be the marketing coordinator for Hungerford Hill Wines, and they had this little church that they had the winery cellar door in. And then the owner, who was a multi-millionaire back then, he bought this premise called One Broke Road, which somebody else had a business venture that went defunct. And anyway, the cellar door was round. And I walked in there and I was like, there is no way I could be in this room because I wanted to pass out, just immediately. And I have it on one of the episodes of my podcast. It was the very first past life regression that I ever did. I did 2 lives in the regression, and both of them are on the podcast. But I found and healed the reason that circles make me feel so bad was because I went straight to a past life where I was a monk in the United Kingdom, in Westminster Abbey. And I've actually seen the room because I could see it in my mind. And it was a round room. And back in those days, self-flagellation was a thing. That's the way that all of the Franciscan monks used to punish themselves because they were not worthy of God. And if you didn't self-flagellate, they would do it for you. And so the whole regression is of me witnessing being flagellated by force. And it was almost a bit like do you know that monk in the Da Vinci Code scene?
Yes, I'm thinking of that. That's where my mind went.
Yeah, it was exactly like that as well. It was one of those leg things, because I remember watching that movie and having a really strong reaction to that. But this room, and I've seen it so many times. Anyway, so
wow,
interesting that memory was the first one that came up to be healed. And as you said, the circle is such a healing thing. So it's linked. So isn't that a beautiful thing to be able to say that circle and that feeling now is healed because we're able to deal with the mind? But
Mm.
so the art does the same thing, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, wow. What strong reactions in a round room. I'm just wondering, in a round room, you can't see it. You can't really feel its totality because wherever you stand, you'll interrupt the arc line in a round room. You can't get a full sense of it. So I'm wondering when you can at a distance and you're not in the circle, but you can view it from a little distance and have more of a, rather than an immersion in it, a relationship to it because it's on. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm just wondering around those concepts whether that might come into play. Yeah, but how fascinating,
Yeah,
Katish.
just came to mind. So that's very
Yeah,
interesting. And
yeah,
I guess the next thing that I'm not sure if it's the right time. You can tell me if there's something else that you want to cover because I can edit. But is there's quite a the Tibetans use the mandalas as sacred ways to represent all the different levels of existence and all the deities, all the bodhisattvas, all of the
mm,
hell beings and the hell realms. And they use it as a very important concept of impermanence because they make these sand mandalas and then
yes,
they destroy them. And then
yeah,
obviously Indian culture and the various Indian religions, it's very important and sacred as well. And I know that you recently went to India. And so I
yes.
thought maybe is this a good time to dovetail into that and that experience and why you chose India and what your experience about going looking at some mandalas over there was.
Yeah, all very good questions. And I think it maybe raised more questions in my mind and in my heart, Katish. So in India, yes, mandalas everywhere. It's part of the culture, the design. There's so much meaning in the colors and the flourishes and the flowers and the, as you say, the temporary nature of a lot of the mandalas. And I know you mentioned in Tibetan Buddhism, but even in Hinduism and the and the religious pathways in India, still there's the temporary nature of artwork celebrating, yeah, the temporary decoration, and then it will all be washed away. So I did get to see mandalas that were, and I thought it was sand, but it wasn't. The color ground up rice because then the
Oh,
ground up
okay.
rice would feed the ants, and so
Mhm.
that there was like, and so nothing went to waste. And I love that concept. So I brought a little mandala making rice, powdered rice kit back home for
All
the
right.
girls from a little street vendor who we got to meet, who with just some plastic like plumbing piping, just little PVC tubes, had a special design that was passed down through the generations. So it must have been a different substance before, but you just roll the tubes over the ground in a circle way, and it would just disperse the rice flour in a special pattern. So there's, yeah, different techniques to do that. But
Mm.
then I also saw women on their on all haunches very carefully with their hands, with, you could feel that their hands had this exact tensioning in the way that they would distribute the rice flour and the ground up rice right into, yeah, and just it was mesmerizing watching them do that. And through the different festivals, and there's festivals going on all the time in India. I was there for the Pongal festival, which was in the southern part of India where I went to in Mahabalipuram. And this is a United Nations World Heritage Area site and one of the very ancient capitals of India. The Pongal festival is where they celebrate the harvest of rice and jaggery, which is like a raw sugar, and what else? The rice, the jaggery, mostly those two ingredients, and they'd come up with a very sweetened rice kind of desserty dish called pongal. And so they were celebrating the Pongal festival. And so every day people would put new mandalas on their doorstep and wash away the old, and brand new flourishes everywhere. So it was a very bright and energetic time for that whole region. So it was beautiful to see the mandalas, the temporary mandalas everywhere. And then the artwork in the places that we got to go to, the temples, the ancient rock carvings, and then embellishment in different medias, doorknobs. Everywhere you looked was mandalas. It was thousands of years old on the roofs, mandalas. Yeah, everywhere mandalas. So I was right in my element. There was mandalas everywhere. You're right, Katish.
We can get to that sense of overwhelm though, right? Where do you look? Because
Yes.
it's too much. You can't take it all in. So I guess that was part of my other question that I had rolling around my head is knowing where you live and having been there many times and knowing your energy, you're very grounded and extremely calm. And to be thrown into India by choice amongst all these festivals and colors and sights and smells and noise, how did you, I'm assuming your meditation training, the billions of hours that you've done to get your recent conversation, helped you stay grounded and calm in the center of chaos. But how did that go for you?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Katish. I haven't even asked myself that one, but I think it was really good. I was integrating it all very well. I think a lot of my practice, as we spoke about before, Katish, is me just being very present with what is and not getting caught in my mind or not thinking about, oh, what's that going to mean for me and how am I going to do that in the future? Or oh, that this is the way this relates to something that I've learned in the past. It's all just like, just wow, look where I am and this, and I'm just going to be with where I am. I did journey over to India with another, I think there was 8 of us in total, 8 women. And so we went with someone who'd been to India a few times herself before. So she guided us in a very practical spirituality kind of a way. So as a group, we were meditating, doing yoga, having discussions about our experiences. And yeah, it was, the places that we went to were very different. I must say, I think the way my body wanted to cope with the overwhelm was after many months of not having a menstrual cycle, my body said, okay, you're going to have some rest now. Let's give you a menstrual cycle while you're in an ashram, so you can't go to any temples anymore for the whole time that you're here. So that was my body saying, okay, you've had enough, Chantal, have some rest. And all the other women would go to the temples through the day, but I couldn't. And I love that, Katish, because I love forging my own way. And so whilst the temples were out, I got to meet a lot of other community that wouldn't have been accessible to me if I was still part of my known group of Western. I got to meet some amazing Indian people on my self-led journey through where I was. So that was actually really beautiful. And then the next place that we went, my lungs couldn't cope with the pollution, and so I got quite sick with a lung infection, and I was just sick in bed for a couple of days. So that was another part of my body going, there's enough overwhelm here for you, Chantal. Just take a break and absorb what you've already got. So I see all those sort of things as my body knows, is very intuitive and it knows what's going on. So that's how my body and my being coped, Katish. I had great, intense, small doses, but then when enough was enough, it was like, let's just have a little bit more rest here.
And interesting, because I think living in Australia, particularly in the state that we live in, the city that we live in, we're a very green city with lots and lots of trees. And it's not until you go somewhere else that you realize how the quality of our life is affected by the quality of the trees that we have. And so that absorbs, except of course today where we were recording this and there is smog pollution everywhere because they're burning off in Brisbane. Yeah. So, but yeah, usually you don't have to confront that breath issue here in our city because we have beautiful clean
yes
air, even though it's a city, because we're just so green. So yeah.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah, it certainly brings everything in perspective, how blessed we are to live where we are and the quality of our air and the lack of pollution on the streets in a physical form or in the air and airborne pollutants. It was quite striking. Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
And your brain is different to my brain, and because mine is that one that tries to connect all the dots immediately. I have a lot of trouble unless I have a camera with me to slow down the mind, to be just present in the moment. That's what I've been doing in the last 3 months, is trying to take a break from past and the future and be in the present to reground myself.
Yeah.
But and my brain would sit there and instantaneously connect to the energy and download information and insights and things like that. Whereas you said you were able to be present in the moment. So since you've come home, how has your journey to India and the greater understanding of mandalas and that period of life for you reflected, or are you still integrating it in terms of different insights that you've had, or different elements that you might have now incorporated in your artwork, or just anything?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Katish. And when I came home, I didn't actually intellectualize and form words around it. But what I did do was, in this Blue Lotus collection that I painted, as I showed a couple of them from before. So that's for those of you just listening, it's all the blues of the Blue Lotus gold. It's got the Tara mantra of Om Tari Tutari Ture Soha in there. So I'd painted 2 of these Blue Lotus mandalas in July of last year, always thinking, oh, I'd love to get a collection together of 6, but they never, I did 2 and then it stopped. I just didn't have any inspiration to paint anymore. But when I got home from India, I had all of these ideas and shapes and just surges of so much energy flowing through me that I painted the next 4 in that collection within 6 days. I couldn't stop painting from morning to night, and it was all coming through me very quickly. So that's how I deal with things, Katish, is through my hands. So I can't really wrap words around it, but my hands get busy, and it's the way that I express from me and my embodied intelligence. I know, as we in science, we know that our heart resonance is much more than our mind, and there's more plumbing that goes from our heart upwards to our mind than there is from our mind to our heart. So the more that I can live and be in my heart space, and the way that I do that is through the heart's extension coming out through the arms and through the hands. So that for me is cooking and artwork, and even maybe massaging or playing some kind of sound instrument through my hands. And that's a way for me to process. The other thing that I do is I do a lot of sewing too, and I don't really advertise that very much, but whenever I have a retreat coming up, I'm sewing individual items like shoulder bags or eye pillows. And so a lot of that energy comes through my heart, through my hands, into different projects and activities. So that's where a lot of the processing happens for me, Katish. But I must say, with all the journeying in India and meditating in a lot of these beautiful, highly significant, very spiritual places where they've been masters of meditation for thousands of years, gone meditate in caves and hills where we were, I came back just with a really beautiful feeling of my own self and my own personal pathway. And even though I was over there and certainly was exposed to a lot of Hinduism and the religious pathway of how that spirituality has found its way through the Hindu religion, and experiencing a lot of these places and the softness of the people. What I did love when I was in India, and I had a sense of this in Nepal, when someone would say to me namaste, you felt the feeling that they meant it. There was a lingering of presence and a lingering of eye contact. And the same in India. It wasn't the rush society that we're used to here in Australia, and I'm thinking probably in America and the UK maybe. But in India, when someone locks eye contact with you and you have a present moment, it lingers for much longer than what someone will be here. But with me wanting to be just so present with what is, I would take off. I had no agenda of rushing while I was there. It was just being with the moment, being with local people in eye contact or eye gazing, or just a very deepened present moment of felt sensation of just being there with them. So that was, yeah, a pretty beautiful experience. So I think the take home lesson for me was you're on the right path for you, Chantal. You've got some great personal, spiritual, applied practices that you do around your meditation, my yoga. I got my, well, I've been practicing for 30 years. For the listeners, I became a teacher in yoga only just last year after 30 years of practice, just more for deepening my own practice and understanding. But I do love to hold classes for people, and particularly not to be the bendy pretzel kind of yoga person, but just more being in union with my own presence, and anything that can allow for that to happen is a big yes for me. So with the kind of yoga that I like, it's more the restorative yoga or the yogic sleep and the meditative yoga. And while the asana, the postures and the physical forms of yoga might come into it, it's only such a small portion. And I like to do that with respect to the bodies that I'm amongst. So I don't have a set idea even how a class is going to go. I'll just be very intuitive with the flow of class. It's going to suit what people have just told me, or the energy that I might feel in the room, or where I teach in the park on grass under trees, and a different community will come and join me all the time.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. That's great. Always good to be able to not be exposed to other people's culture and feel like you have to adopt it, but to allow it to strengthen what you already have, and
Yes.
look at your own self as taking what you have and continuing with it. Yeah, a lot of people suddenly try to adopt something that isn't theirs. And I know that when I
Yeah.
went to a lot of Buddhist retreats, and the Dalai Lama even says it himself, is you were born into a religion in your own country, you have your own culture. Sure, you're welcome to adopt ours, but don't just do it because you think you should, because it's a better way. You don't just need to try on somebody else's. You need to find your own path, and that may or may not include
Yeah.
us, basically. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's always
beautifully
good to
said.
come back to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've also, since, I don't know if it was before you went or after you went, launched your print range.
Yes.
And that's what was the inspiration behind doing the print range?
Yeah. So the Blue Lotus forms the print range, Katish. So there's 6 Blue Lotus mandalas that I painted, 2 in July and 4 after India. They form the Blue Lotus collection. But what underpins each of them is the numerology, and also the mantra that is included on the mandalas, and also the mantra, the vibration of mantra that I was singing, and the music that is playing whilst I was painting each of these Blue Lotus mandalas. Why I chose the Tara mantra, the Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha, which is basically, that's in Sanskrit, which was passed down through the Indus Valley around 5,000 years ago. It's one of the most ancient mantras. And Tara, or green Tara, who features in Hinduism and Buddhism, featured as an amazing sort of green ascended master, or with a Christ-like consciousness, and is always there in her light body to come and aid us when we ask. So basically, with that mantra, it's Tara, oh swift Tara, please come and alleviate this suffering of the world. So I really loved that mantra to help alleviate so much suffering that is in the world, and the way that these Blue Lotus mandalas can then beam out that very benevolent mantra into the world wherever they go. And the numerology, bringing the numerology of a 6 of harmony and connection and love at the personal level, and then the 9, the universal love. and I think there's maybe 1 or 2 with a 7 in there as well. But with that numerology, it's also beaming out a whole lot of love, gratitude, and compassion in its numerology. And then the blue lotus, the colors of blue lotus. The blue lotus is one of the highest vibrational flowers on the planet, with a very high vibrational oil, and it's very well known through many cultures. A lot of the goddesses through many of the traditions will appear in a lotus flower, and it's the concept of, while we're here on earth with no mud, no lotus, there's, without the suffering, there is no realization and ascension from that kind of contrast. And so that's where that came from, Katish. So that's
Did
where the
you
blue
have
lotus came from.
any urge to put a drop of the blue lotus oil in with the paint?
Yeah,
My
well,
first thought, as soon as you said it was a blue lotus, I was like, I wonder if she poured the oil in. So that's very me.
I use it as a fragrance on myself to bring the vibration into
Right.
myself.
Okay.
But
Okay,
yeah, as it's what I
an
put on
added
my
sensory,
face every day.
sensory component to the painting.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot going on. All these sort of vibrational components of the color and the mantra and the sounds and the written words and the numerology. Yeah, it all comes together. And if it just puts a smile on someone's face, then that's a good thing too. It
Yes.
just reminds to bring a little joy and get into that, the joyous, heart opening, joyous kind of state which the world needs.
Definitely. And Chantal, at the moment, do you send any of your prints or mandalas overseas, just for those who are listening that are overseas listeners, or are you
Yes.
just domestic only?
No, absolutely. So the print range, absolutely. I can send them anywhere through the world. They do come as an archival quality paper that lasts over 100 years when it's framed properly. So that will be sent in a tube. I can also arrange for framing, and that would certainly be a different cost with sending it overseas. But I have, with my commission mandalas, so that's also available for people. I paint mandalas from 30 centimeters up to a meter, and at different prices. But I have sent commission mandalas to the UK, to Canada, to the United States, and all throughout Australia, including Tasmania. So
Wow,
yeah,
great.
they do go everywhere in the world, which is lovely. And it's beautiful that people find me from around the world. And so these mandalas continue to find their forever homes.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I will link in the show notes not only Chantal's website and her social media, but she does. Do you have a separate website for the art, or is that all part of your own?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a link on my own, but then there's yoursacredmandala.com, which is a different website.
All right, beautiful.
And I also love to mention, I do have a range of gift cards, which has all of the 6 Blue Lotus images on each of the 6 cards, and 20% of the card proceeds go to charities that support and empower women, children, and communities to continue to bloom. But yes, I'm working with some charities to align with the profit sharing from that range.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
I know I could talk to you about a whole bunch of other things maybe another time, but I feel very much like that is exactly what I wanted to cover today, the art aspect of you. And so for anyone who's interested in learning about other components of Chantal, before I started this podcast, so a couple of years ago, right at the start of the lockdown, I think, we did an interview which is on my YouTube channel, which is about the power of women's voice. So it's not on this podcast. It's on my YouTube channel, and it's also on my website. So you can go and listen to that to learn more about the power of a woman's voice. So thank you again for coming today, Chantal.
Thank you for having me, Katish.
We wish you all the very best with all of your art and look forward to following your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katish. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.